It's difficult for me to relay precisely the huge amount of enjoyment I get by playing a good old-fashioned rocket launcher. And today, oh my god, I'm in for a treat, and so are you. One of the best rocket launchers in the game, the Kuva Ogris. I got a cheap build, something affordable, something that most players will be able to get into, something a bit more casually. But rest assured, my friends, we got the endgame setup with prime mods, galvanized mods, we got a couple of rivens. We're gonna be testing a raw damage build, then we're gonna try a crit build, essentially the works. And of course, we're gonna be taking this one to Steel Path as well and putting it through its paces. That said though, please bear in mind that my builds and guides usually take a more new player friendly tone, simply because I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of this stuff, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Kuva Ogris. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that we're gonna do just a couple of our regular free shots. The Kuva Ogris is pretty simple to explain, my friends. This is a rocket launcher, kapow! Upon impact, the projectile will be detonating in a 8-meter area, I believe, 7.9 meter radius, and also the projectiles have a guaranteed impact proc. So we got two sources of damage, and it's important to pay attention to the two sources of damage. First, you got the projectile physically making contact with a target that will generate a little bit of damage and has a guaranteed impact proc, and then you have the big bada boom explosion, which is the vast majority of your damage. The problem with the explosion, even though it may have 8-meter worth of range, which is fantastic, the drop-off is 80%, so that's a bit of a pain. Now, normally I don't really tackle cosmetics when it comes to weapons because they are subjective, but this weapon can use the absolutely outstanding Ogris rocket launcher skin, which changes everything. Essentially the look, the feel, the sound, even the look of the projectiles. If you go into Captura and stop motion, you're gonna see how cool these projectiles actually look. So we're gonna be using this skin for the remainder of the review. Now, my friends, when it comes to usability, there's not a whole lot to complain about. It's a rocket launcher, right? Even the reload is pretty quick on this one, and you get big bada boom explosions. Now, let's talk more about stats and the options when it comes to modding. But first, if your Kuva Ogris comes with only mod capacity 30 out of 30, jump into actions, plug in the Autoking Catalyst, and format the living daylights out of this one. That's the way you can get to mod capacity 80 out of 80. And if you want to get all the mastery points out of a Kuva weapon, any Kuva weapon, and tenant weapon for that fact, you gotta put in at least 5 forma. For the weapon build I'm recommending you can get away with 2, even 3 forma. You don't need to go to 5, but if you want the mastery points, you'll have to do it. That's how these Kuva and tenant weapon works. And the sword, I forgot the name, the sword as well. Now, accuracy 100. We don't really care about this, we care about the explosion. Take a look at the difference in damage when it comes to, this is the projectile, yes, 42 damage, 42.4 total damage, impact, puncture, and heat. And this is the radial attack with 1080 damage by default. This being a Kuva weapon, you gotta choose yourself a progenitor. I would recommend you go with heat. This is a heat roll. As you can see, a 57.1% out of a maximum of 60. I would recommend you go for heat because you can make easy elemental combos such as vital heat or corrosive heat. You can also go electricity, is not a bad thing. You can also make gas builds and all whatnot. But from my point of view, I would go with heat. Fire rate is 1.5 with a magazine of 3, a reload of 2.1 seconds. Noise alarming because rocket launcher. Riven disposition of 2 out of 5, which means I hate 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 is the worst Riven disposition to have because it means it's still worth getting Rivens, but it's still not all that easy getting Rivens, and they're still kind of pricey. I would rather it be 1 out of 5. Yes, my friends, it is worth getting Rivens for the Kuva Ogris, and I have a few to test. Critical chance, 9%. Critical multiplier is good, decent at 2.0, but the base critical chance is a little bit on the low side. Does that mean that crit is unusable? Well, with critical delay, you get to 27%, which is usable, but more on that later. Status chance is high, 47%, though it's not as high as the number would suggest because you get one big bada boom explosion. This needs to be high, and again, this is the projectile making contact with a target. As for the explosion, the fall off, as you saw before, 80%. I know it's a big explosion, but your fall off is huge as well. Like, even at half fall off, losing like, what, 40% of your damage is huge, so do bear that one in mind. Range of 8 meters by default. If you go with Firestorm, you're going to be getting one big explosion. Puncture / heat is from the progenitor and a whole lot of blast damage, totaling 1080 damage. I think if you go to 60% is 1100 or a bit more, so you can squeeze out just a little bit more damage. Speaking about damage, arcane slots. You're never really gonna go for headshots with this one. The only feasible way to get headshot damage out of the Kuva Ogris is to hit walls or hit ceilings and get the explosion damage on heads like that. You can try and use primary dead hit like so, but from my point of view, I would go with Merciless, which is a lot more guaranteed considering the archetype of the weapon. And dexterity if you want to use it in tandem with your melee. Besides, the reload speed and the ammo max help out a bit as well. As for your Excellence slot, well, there's not a lot to talk about. You're not really gonna have ammo issues. If you do, you go with Vigilante Supplies or with Carrier or both. Because why not? Cautious Shot. If you're gonna be using the Kuva Ogris, those explosions, the bigger they are, the more easier they will stagger you and send you, wow, I'm staggered, I can't fire my gun. So Cautious Shot might be a thing, 100% chance to reduce the stagger effect from self-imposed radial attacks. If you're gonna be using a Warframe that can deal with this without having to mod your weapon though, you might want to consider Terminal Velocity with 60% projectile flight speed. It simply makes the weapon feel a whole lot more streamlined, if you will. Adhesive Blast, also an option, but honestly, no, not really. I would love if we could use in this slot the following mod, which is kind of mandatory on the build, and it's called Nightwatch Napalm Palm Palm. I just like the name on this one. Rockets disperse napalm, inflicting 40% damage over 6 seconds across 90% of the explosion area. And this, of course, will synergize beautifully with Firestorm. And speaking about beautiful, let's check out a standard build. What? This is the standard build? Well, yes, because it really depends on which way you want to take the weapon, and I'm gonna run you through your options really quick. But of course, Serration for damage, multi-shot to split chamber, and Nightwatch Napalm. Another mod which I consider semi-mandatory is this one, Vigilante Armaments with 60% multi-shot. Considering the critical stats of the weapon, you might want to go like so. But let's say you are of the belief, of the mathematical belief, which is true, by the way, you're right, that going for critical chance is still worth it. And mathematically speaking, again, you would be correct. So let's try again for critical chance and critical damage, vital sense, critical delay. Of course, if you got crit, you got a moo-moo. Everybody knows that. And of course, if you moo-moo, what do we do if we moo-moo? We vital as well. Man, you guys are so awesome. Thank you so much. I don't even need to make the build. There you go. This is the standard build. We're gonna try it really quick, then I'm gonna change things up. But I know some people still want to see a vital slash on everything. We got the corrupted heavy goons level 120. Yay, yay. And yes, we'll talk about internal bleeding as well. Just give me a minute. As you can see, it is viable. You get your slash on, and the slashes are dealing damage. You got your viral procs on, and the heat procs from Nightwatch Napalm and everything, and your targets are dying. Burning to death, bled to death. A whole lot of procs. Did you see the number of procs on the guy? That's because of Nightwatch Napalm. So yes, a build like this, it is viable. I don't think I spawned enough targets there. You want to see that one more time? One more time really quick for the corrupted heavy goons level 120. Just one more time really quick. Let's do a killed from above situation, yes? Okay, I think this gives you a better point of view. A bird's eye, if you will, and all whatnot. You see that? You are getting the procs. Vital does help. Not only with the slash procs, which are few and far between, but the beauty of it is you don't need a whole lot, but also with the heat procs, right? From Nightwatch Napalm. Look at that. So you can build a weapon like this if you want to. You wouldn't be wrong in building it like this. A whole lot of people simply want acknowledgement for their build. Sure, this is not a wrong build. Look at him fly. Look at him fly. It's gone. It's gone. It was a sheep, by the way. But in my honest opinion, this is not the kind of weapon you would build for critical chance and viral Momo. It doesn't feel right to do this to the Kuva Ogris. I would go with raw damage, big explosion. That's my cup of tea. Before we go any further, a whole lot of you will say, hey dude, you said guaranteed impact proc, right? So why not internal bleeding, especially considering that fire rate? So you're getting double the benefit. You are correct, but once again, this applies only to this part right here, only to the projectile making contact with a target. This is the guaranteed impact proc, and your value of the slash, if you're gonna get one, is gonna be based off of this. You get it? It's not worth it in the case of the Kuva Ogris. You're gonna be shooting for the feet. You're not gonna try to get projectile hits on targets, and even then, it's not worth it. So if you really want slash, Hunter Mumu is the way to go because it applies to the whole AoE. Internal bleeding only to the projectile, the shell, the casing of the bloody thing making contact with a target, not to the explosion. That's why we don't use internal bleeding, even if the projectile has guaranteed impact. Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, raw damage. So let's say critical chance, critical damage is not your cup of tea, and of course we're gonna give up on vital movement. Of course we're gonna be giving up on vital as well. There you go. More damage with what? Heavy calibre? Don't do this to yourself. Heavy caliber has a horrible effect. I know what you're gonna say, dude. I don't care, man. I'm going for the big AoEs, but look at the rockets. They're flying in all sorts of directions, and this is me being very far away from the target. It just has such a negative effect on it. If this doesn't bother you, you can go with heavy caliber, even though you have more than enough flat damage. I don't think it's... Look how many mods I have on my weapon, and it's still killing targets. Yeah? What is that, 4 mods? I don't know, 4 mods on the weapon. And it's still dealing a whole lot of damage. That is the power of Nightwatch Napalm and the Kuva Ogris. I wouldn't go for it, right? Instead, what I would try to go for is more raw damage. In this case, we're going to be using the 90 mods. Believe it or not, we finally get to use the 90 mods, and now we're going to go with corrosive. Now, do bear in mind, my friends, because of Nightwatch Napalm is still and will be still more advantageous to go for vital, considering the overall damage arc and all whatnot. But in the case of ferrite armor, which is what we're shooting now, corrosive is definitely a good idea. More range, explosion range with prime firestorm, but let's assume this is the new player friendly build, and we're gonna be going with the normal firestorm, more multi-shot in this case, like I mentioned earlier, with vigilante armaments. Like so. And in the last one, honestly, you can plug into this one whatever you feel comfortable with. You can add one more element, but considering you're gonna be combining it with heat, you get it. It's not really gonna be all that fantastic. You can even, fine, we'll go with heavy caliber if you want, but I really don't think it's the smartest idea. But hey, more damage is more damage. Yes, mama, more daka. If I go from above, like I should go. This is pure raw damage you're looking at, and the actual damage you're dealing to them on explosion is absolutely fantastic. Beautiful. Listen to that. You hear that? That is the heat proc. You get it? As they go in and out. Absolutely bloody fantastic. I believe a weapon such as this is meant to be enjoyed like this. It's a bloody rocket launcher. Do you enjoy the proc gameplay style? Because I sure as hell don't. I don't want to shoot a gun and then watch the damage tick slowly away. I want to shoot a gun and watch the thing be blown to kingdom come. Especially for a goddamn rocket launcher, dear Digital Extremes. Remember? Guns for fun? That kind of thing. So I like this kind of approach as well. Now this concludes the new player or casual player friendly portion of the guide. What follows next is maxing it out with galvanized mods, prime mods, and of course a rivens as well. I got this one loaner from a friend. Of course it's not mine. I never have good rivens. Stop it. Multi-shot damage. I don't need more flat damage, but that multi-shot is priority number 1 on your rivens. You guys still ask, okay, what should I be going for on my riven? If you have a Ogris riven, it needs to have multi-shot on it. No questions about it. Damage electricity minus ammo mass. Now that electricity will help me make corrosive on my weapon with a single 90 mod. I got Bane of the Disgusting. You gotta. If you really want the highest numbers, you gotta use one on this one as well. If not, you can simply add more flat damage or what we talked about earlier. The choice is your Prime Firestorm instead of the normal version. And of course, Galvanized Chamber instead of the normal version with Primary Merciless. Now the thing is, we're still suffering from the stack decay bug. Yeah. So I can't really consistently show you the full power of the build, but it should be good enough. Unfortunately, the developer hasn't gotten around to fixing the bugs just yet. I need to get a couple of kills to actually show you the weapon in full. Yeah, they're all gone, aren't they? And I gotta quickly respawn them. You see, and now because one of my stacks dropped off, I can't show you the full stacks anymore, sadly. If you are unfamiliar with what the hell is going on, what is this stack decay bug and how is it affecting us, link in the cards right now. But of course, as you can see, the weapon is hella powerful. It blows up targets, it burns them to smithereens, and it's definitely something I simply enjoy playing. Is this the kind of build you would be taking against, I don't know, maybe some of you guys enjoy doing level 6,000, 7,000, whatever thousand. This is not something I enjoy doing. I see it as a massive waste of time. But if you enjoy something like that, then this is not the build for you, because this relies heavily on raw damage, and raw damage will eventually fall off. So do bear that one in mind. If you want a weapon that is fully capable, also big explosions, yes, because you like big explosions, and is also fully capable of super ultra high level, look at the cards right now for that. Now, let me show you this one in Steel Path gameplay. Welcome to the Void, my friends. Now let's see what this weapon can do in Steel Path. Ooh, I love the blue flame. They're absolutely fantastic. I'm playing with Revenant, and Revenant of course has the Panzerwolperpfeiler, which assists with the vital procs, which is excellent in this case. You will see that the weapon has no problem whatsoever. There was a Eximus here, one of the... Okay, I can't see him anymore. There's still a bit of my screen which is still available to the IDE. We need more particle effects, obviously. And of course, the Corrupted Heavy Goon level 130 is gonna absolutely get How did you die? Was it from the explosion? I don't know, might have been from the explosion. Now, of course, I'm not getting knocked back because Revenant is helping me with Mesmer Skin. What an amazing Warframe. Do you guys love Revenant? I love Revenant. I like off-meta Revenant, however, and if you guys want to see how that one works, look at the cards right now. I just love being beautiful ballerina. But back on topic, there she goes. Or there he goes, there it goes. It's really up to you. The amount of damage this weapon can fork out is absolutely sensational. And it's more than enough to get you mostly for whatever Warframe can throw at you. It is one hell of an awesome weapon. And it goes back to what this is supposed to be. This is a rocket launcher. And if you're not having fun with a rocket launcher, then that means the rocket launcher is wrong. But this rocket launcher is totally right. And I 100% enjoy playing with it. Now, we can make it even more powerful than that, and for that, we can use one of two Warframes. Either Mirage Prime to get the absolute maximum damage buffs that you can for a weapon, or you can also use Harrow. If we're gonna be using Harrow, then we can get critical damage on the weapon, get critical chance from Harrow, and then it should be absolutely fantastic. Let's see how that one looks in practice, though. And for Lord Harrow, we're going to be using the following key components. Corrosive projection versus heavily armored targets, but please don't feel forced into this one. Simply use the aura of your choosing, whatever your build needs at the time. More importantly though, Arcane Avenger, this is very important for a crit build on the Kuva Ogris for that 45% critical chance bonus additive after simply stacking on top of what you already have. It doesn't care about the base critical chance of the weapon, it simply gives you 45% to your primary, secondary and your melee at the exact same time. If you can't be arsed to farm Eidolon, it comes from the third Eidolon down on Cetus because it's not fun, because it's not something you enjoy and all whatnot, you can simply go to the trade chat and get some. Honestly, I don't blame you, Eidolon hunting used to be a whole lot more fun. We also need to make a couple of changes to the weapon build as well. We integrated some critical damage with Vital Sense and we swapped out the Riven for this one. Critical damage, critical chance, multi-shot and minus reload speed. And of course we're gonna have to put in Stormbringer for electricity because we no longer have the Riven with the element. If you're going for a critical build, make sure that on your Sentinel's weapon you have the 4 Vigilante mods for the 20% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. Now, my friends, with Harrow, we're going to be activating his 4 ability, Convenant. Save the entire team from annihilation and never get any gratitude whatsoever. Hashtag cry in a corner. Harrow's second ability is more useful on other weapons, not so much on this one. It gets you fire rate and reload speed. Keep in mind, we're not going for headshots, we're going straight for AoE shots, so we're getting 50% plus 45% plus 30 whatever percent does the weapon have. So your critical chance is guaranteed. Now you see what's going on? You get a flash of the crit and then a whole lot of napalm strikes. And yeah, you can play the weapon into crit. Is this what you were expecting though? This is not that high level of power as the weapon is simply not made to be built into crits. Can you do it? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Is it satisfying? Hell yes. Is it the smartest idea? Well, no, not necessarily. But let it not be said that it can't be done or it doesn't work, because it does. Now, a more powerful idea would be going with Lady Mirage Prime as per the usual and her outstanding buffs. We're going to be using the same 2 key components as before, Corrosive Projection and Arcane Avenger. You don't really need Rage, there's plenty of raw damage to go around. And the build, we're going to go to the initial one. Now, one more time, the Corrupted Heavy Goons level 165. And you can also use the Panzerwolperpfeiler. Did I mention? I think I mentioned in the Steel Path section. Use the Panzerwolperpfeiler, that's also a good idea for some additional vital procs. But for now, empower for Mirage and her absolutely outstanding free ability Eclipse and the best animation in Warframe. Ever so lovely clones. Now this is bombardment made right. They're not even on the map anymore. This is the way you Warframe buffs, my friends, with Lady Mirage Prime. This is the ultimate bombardment. Now, the Kuva, what was it, Tsar might have something to say about it, but there's no denying this is hella impressive and this is so hella satisfying. My friends, the Kuva Ogris is one outstanding weapon, one that you need to have in your arsenal, except if you have something against rocket launchers. If this is not the kind of gameplay style you enjoy, then I would get it. But honestly, this is one hell of a weapon, one that I highly recommend. It is super enjoyable. Where did it go? It's a rocket launcher. You gotta get yourself some rocket launcher. If you're interested in this kind of gameplay style, but you want something that is more capable towards, I don't know, maybe you guys like to do level cap or anything of the sort, I got just the thing for you. Link in the cards right now. As always, my name has been Laser. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below, especially if you got some content suggestions. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And if you love the content and you want to help me keep making it, consider supporting us via Patreon. There's a link in the cards right now, upper right portion of the screen. Until next time, my friends, bye-bye.